Okay, conversion rate optimization. We're going to talk about conversion rate optimization, or basically, if you don't know what the conversion rate optimization is about, it's about improving how many people that come to your site right now actually end up buying or turning into a lead, and ultimately, of course, turn into a sale. It's about taking the same traffic that you have from PPC campaigns or some other source, from organic traffic, and getting more out of it. Not about, whereas PPC optimization is about focusing on the traffic flow, you have conversion rate optimization, which focuses on the traffic you already have. But what this video is going to answer is the actual conversion rate optimization, as people call it, is it worth it to spend your time and money on? Or should I spend my time and money elsewhere? And the answer to that question is going to be in this video. I'm going to give you a few different examples of how you can actually use conversion rate optimization to make money, where it's most appropriate, and where actually I do spend my time first before conversion rate optimization, because that's something that comes up a lot. In some other cases, I'm beelining it for it right away. So it really depends on where you're at with your business, and I could classify that for you, where basically you are at the current moment. You should be going for should you be going for the conversion rate optimization to make. You only got so much marketing budget, or only got so much time to focus in on your marketing. And which one should you focus on first, the traffic or your site conversion rate as it sits? And so, obviously. Your conversion rate optimization, to hire somebody who's competent to know how to do it, it's very, very expensive, but there's a way to easily finance that as well, which I'm going to cover in this video for you as well. And ultimately, it is for everybody. It's just a matter about when. So just wanted to share with you my methodology when I bring on a new client at Guarantee PPC, where we got to guarantee the results. I am definitely looking at where most people fail in PPC is they don't look at the site, they just look at the campaigns. And really, to be good at PPC, you got to be able to look at both. And so, basically with more of the results coming from what they see when they get to your site, for the most part, then, it is very, very important that you understand these concepts. And, at some point, actually, you need to focus on it and optimize it in and itself. Where the question really comes in is, at this stage, basically where I'm at, is it worth, I only have so much money to hire somebody to do the CRO, conversion rate optimization, or to help me with my PPC account. Which one should I do? That's the more specific question that I'm trying to answer for you on this video. And again, it depends, and I'm going to explain in what scenarios I would go CRO first, and what scenarios I'm going to just focus on my PPC. So anyway, with that, then I can break everything basically down. There's two main categories of conversion rate optimization, if you will. There's optimization of all traffic sources. So basically what this is you have a website, it gets traffic from a bunch of different places. Google Organic, Bing Organic, they may have Google ads running, they may have Facebook ads running, and then they, as a whole, like let's say, assuming you run an e-commerce site, you look at like the home page and the layout of the category pages and so on and so forth, to try to optimize the site look and feel of itself and the flow in and itself, in an effort to get every visitor that from all the different traffic sources you have, to convert it a little bit higher rate as a whole, so that you're making a little bit more money from all the traffic you have coming in. And that's perfectly fine. But a lot of, that in and itself, you're not going to make as much money from that as you are going to be focusing on your PPC, as I'm about to describe. This is something that people usually use a tool like Visual Website Optimizer, Optimizely, so that they, for instance, can change something about their navigation. That's going to be the same throughout the site. I'm going to change, instead of blue, it's going to be black. Let's see what that does. And you do, for an e-commerce site, you're optimizing for revenue per visit, and on a lead generation site, of course, leads per visit, by optimizing these things that are basically inherently a part of the structure of the site. And then, again, that's very valuable as a tool. It's just a matter of, where people might get tripped up is they're focusing on that kind of stuff where they shouldn't be, when they should be focusing on PPC, and then vice versa a lot of times as well. They're not getting the most value out of their PPC efforts by not doing that CRO stuff as well on the main part of their site, and optimizing all traffic sources, which the PPC, as I'm going to explain, it inherently helps you do. Specifically, I'll explain why. Then the other, of course, is optimization of the PPC campaigns that you're running. So it could be Google ads, could be Facebook ads, whatever. You know, you're running a PPC campaign. You want to get more out of the PPC campaign. You know, there's two options. You can, again, remember, if you remember what I was mentioning at the start of the video, you can either optimize the traffic, you know, what traffic you're buying, and then also ultimately what you have displayed for the user when they get to your site, what they see, in order to, which affects how many people are actually going to respond or going to buy, as a way of the main split of the ways that you're going to be able to get the campaign profitable and, you know, ultimately be more efficient, get it efficient enough to scale, so on and so forth. So which one? So the main question I'm answering for you here in this video is which one of these do I do first? If you're not doing PPC already, you know, I would. So taking a step back here, I've kind of boiled this down to a very simple kind of breakdown in categories of what businesses should start off with this basic overall optimization of their whole site versus doing a PPC campaign first and then using the PPC campaign to power and leverage what you're doing on and make, you know, basically make it affordable and doable and most efficient to do the overall conversion rate optimization on your site. That is, if your site overall is not getting more than 10,000 visits a month and your business as a whole is not generating at least $1 million in sales from that site, or what's derived from that site, if you will, then I'm going to say, if you don't already have a scalable PPC campaign set up for yourself yet, then you start there, meaning you start a PPC campaign. Why is that? Well, the main reason why you do that is because through that PPC campaign, see, I like PPC unlike, you know, helping people with other like organic traffic and so on and so forth, because it forces you to be efficient. Like email marketing, you can be very efficient and it will work because the emails don't cost anything. PPC, there's an inherent cost for every click. So if you don't know how to be efficient, then nothing matters. And so with that, like I said, you have to optimize the traffic, and you got to also know how to optimize the experience for what the user sees when they get to your site. But with that, you're able to, you don't have to optimize and have a whole website that's amazing. It certainly helps to have the rest of your website good, but for the most part, you just need a really good landing page or, you know, series of landing pages and funnel for the user to go through for the PPC campaign to work. And so there's a lot less to optimize. So with that, you can narrow down what you need to optimize with optimizing a PPC campaign for yourself first, to just optimizing a landing page. With the optimization of the landing page that you'll do as a part of optimizing your PPC campaigns, you're going to find out, you're actually forced to find out, to make that PPC campaign work, what people want to generally see and what they'll basically it comes down to, don't make me think. When I get to the site, I should, without even having any question, know exactly how to use that website, what's being offered, not being confused in any way, that this isn't applied to somebody else instead of me, so on and so forth. And to the point where if the PPC campaign is profitable, well, then you can use that information to, without having to guess and have to go through all these, trial and error and guesses on when you're going to optimize your full site. Going back to optimizing all the traffic sources and optimizing your site as a whole to optimize for all traffic sources. So that can ultimately be a very quick and efficient kind of way that you leverage what you're doing on PPC to make more money, but just to do the process in general. And so, and why it helps to be efficient when you're going to optimize your whole site is, well, first of all, I don't know, despite maybe what you've heard, I've been doing, I've run this agency for 7 years. I've worked at an agency before this for a few years. Been doing online marketing and business for businesses I've owned and for clients for 15 years now. Somebody who understands how to take a site and make it make more money by inherently knowing just switch this to this and this and then, oh, now you make more money. That person's is so valuable in itself. Everybody needs that if somebody actually has those skills, they're going to charge a crap load of money. If you go hire a CRO company that can ultimately, which I would just say go to a CRO company, because an individual isn't going to have all the toolbox of tools that you need, because you need a designer, you need a copyright, so on and so forth. But the ones that actually know what they're doing and can afford to hire people who actually do know what they're doing, at least halfway somewhat, to where you're not going to get totally ripped off, because there's all kinds of rip-offs in this space. It's going to be between $5 to $10 a month minimum for that person that's going to be working on your stuff to not waste your time. And it doesn't make any sense to save money, because they're just going to waste your time. 80% even of the companies say that can do it, even that might charge $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, are just going to waste your time. So with that said, and good reviews, just seeing that they're a huge agency, that stuff doesn't matter. Realistically, I cannot hire somebody good like that without paying, $15,000 a month in salary to that person. That's what they're going to want. So how am I going to charge someone $2,000 a month? Plus, there's other persons on the team that need to be involved, like I said, designers and so forth. The designers have to be at the top of their game to be able to out-design your current or past designer every single time, and so on and so forth. So there's a number of different reasons why this is not cheap. So basically, getting back to the topic here, and what they'll want you to do is sign up for a 12-month contract, because it's a process. Is it something that's just going to, technically, if the person, I don't want to talk myself up here, but I can look at a site and I can tell a few things that could be done and just give that information to the person. That information has to be executed on right, because just because I say this looks like crap, change this, doesn't mean the person you give it to that can change it and actually get it done right. But, basically they're going to want a 12-month contract. You're going to have to pay, let's say, $7,000 a month. You're talking about a $100,000 investment to get the site as a whole changed. If you walk into the game knowing what worked on your PPC campaigns in terms of that landing page, what fonts worked, because you can test that very quickly and very cheaply and very easily. The color scheme that worked, the offer that worked, the layout that worked. The offer wouldn't be as relevant, but the layout that worked, the font size that worked. There's all these individual elements that you can quickly reiterate on that landing page, which is what's great about PPC, because you've laser targeted a traffic source. The traffic source can be for one single keyword, and so you've got a control in your experiment. In other words, you can see if you change the font size, how that affects your conversion rates. And so you can change tiny things at a time like that. Sometimes if it's too small, it's hard to know for sure, but for the most part, which, respectively speaking, you can change something. You might risk 5% of your money for a short term, but then you'll win on some, and then you'll be making more, and then you could parlay that into other tests, and then you're eventually going to come out the other end knowing what works. So if you're working with a professional and you say, basically this is the page that, after lots of testing works, use this information to make the rest of our site good. At that point, you actually, CRO test-wise, you don't even need a CRO firm even. You could tell that then the really talented web design firm who may not have expertise specifically in conversion rate optimization, that what worked, and that I want my site to kind of look like this, they can redesign it, and they probably almost for sure will get it right to where they're making more money. So you kind of get my point, but once you have a campaign that works, you will already know what to do on the rest of your site inherently, for the most part. And if you're going to redo your whole site, by the way, because you really, your landing page, you find out it's so much different than the rest of your site, you can just redesign it outright. To do it to where you have the proper, I see people, I've made a video specifically about web developers that rip people off all the time. You want a web design firm that's going to be in business for the next 10 years without question. And it has the good customer service and so on and so forth. The people that designed the site and coded the site, you could talk to later on 3 years from now, most likely. There's good notes about the project, so when they make you a site, they're going to service it well, and because they stand behind their work. And people that do that level of work for a big like e-commerce site, you're talking about 20 to 200 grand somewhere in there, depending on how big of a site That's just, get in there can get more expensive than that. And even if you just don't have that, to do a regular site that just generates leads, you're still talking 20 to 80K to do a site halfway right. People think, oh, I could just hire somebody for $10,000. The likelihood that they're going to beat, unless your site's total crap or garbage right now, that person's going to make a site, even with the right information you give them to make it better, you're gambling. Maybe you'll get lucky and the person doing it doesn't know their worth yet, and they got hired by somebody who got lucky. But the really good UX designers charge also about $15,000 a month is what they get paid. So you cannot afford to hire these people and then rent them out for less than that. It's just how it is. You may not like it, but to soften the blow of all this, why hire somebody on an if? If you know exactly what works because you put together a PPC campaign that you were forced to get to work and it was profitable, and you tested things and you really can't get any more out of it, you already know what to do with the rest of the site. You know if you spend $100K to redesign it, you're going to make that $100K back in 3 months. What's big deal? So with that, the time to do the CRO stuff is after you've forced yourself to put together a little PPC campaign for yourself. And this campaign, by the way, doesn't have to be a multi-million-dollar ad campaign immediately. You can literally invest as much as $1,000 a month in Google Ads and get that to work. With that said, so while you're doing your PPC, your goal is to make the PPC campaign profitable, because if you have something profitable, what you've done and shown to the user on the landing page or on the website side to get that to work and have to change it is going to inherently work on the whole rest of the site as a whole. Of course, for e-commerce people, you may be sending them to a category product page. So those are the pages that you would optimize as a part of your PPC campaign. But at the same time, you're narrowing it down to a very specific product, and therefore you don't have as much to test. But that information could be applied to the rest of your site. If you don't have a PPC campaign now, spend $1,000 a month. Go after very specific sets of terms that you think that are obvious to work. Advertise it. Track your results. So if you're not making money in 6 months already, then you go and you focus all your attention at that time to your landing page or to where you're sending the users to, basically. So that, because a lot of people don't recognize this, that's why they always hire a PPC person. They don't hire somebody who knows how to fix landing pages, or they don't hire somebody that that does PPC who also knows landing page conversion rate optimization, because you got to understand both to understand how to make a campaign work, since 50 to 70% of whether or not your campaign makes money or how much it makes is based upon the landing page or what is on the other side. So basically, anyway, you get 6 months in, you are going to go and you're going to start heavily testing that landing page. Like I said, you're going to change things like your font size, stuff like that. But the order of which, by the way, that I personally test a landing page is I'm going to start by testing the offer. If there is no offer, you make sure you have an offer on the page. Just saying, I unclog toilets. It's not good enough. Special price on toilet unclogging this month only. Call for details. Something like that. Then you will change the copy, the sales copy. So in other words, all the text on the page, you have a copywriter who knows how to write sales copywriting, do the page. Then if that doesn't get you enough results yet, then you're going to go ahead, or once you've maxed out on that, because this is the normal order of things that I do, because this is how I find the ideal way to do things, then you're going to go ahead and you're going to change the layout of the page. Maybe there's some sections you can take out. Maybe you need to add a couple. Maybe instead of having everything centered, you need to have it left aligned. The layout on the page matters a whole lot more than people realize, because it makes how it's laid out, and if it's laid out properly, makes the information easier to absorb. And if people get frustrated at all, they'll leave your site even if they want what you have, so on and so forth. And it makes them think, therefore, that's going to hurt your conversion rates. Then after that, I'm going to start to test around with the color scheme, specifically starting with the colors of the call to actions as would it contrast as the main other color scheme of the site, since those should be different. and in general just change the what colors I'm using for like the background and stuff. And that's the normal order of things I'm going to go through. And eventually, if you want to, you can change the font size. Since if you're selling to older people, bigger font size, a lot of times that helps. People don't know that. They're going to change you could change the fonts and stuff once you get through all that. But you get the general idea. Now, if your PPC campaign set up so sloppy that if you're offering plumbing services and people are looking for how to unclog a toilet, obviously that's not going to ever work. So if you go to optimize your landing page at that time after 6 months of not having it work, you're also wasting your time. So Corey, you're asking yourself, how do I know that it's the right time? So basically what you're going to do is you're going to go into Google Analytics. If you set up a search campaign to run on Google or Bing search campaign, you're going to go into Google Analytics and you're going to see what the bounce rate of the traffic is from your keywords. If you're between 40 and 60% on a search campaign, you should know at that point in time that your traffic's dialed in enough that landing page should be your focus. If you've been doing it and it's been at the 40 to 60% range for close to 6 months since you've started, then you're not going to magically make it better. Now, this whole 6 months you could be optimizing, adding negative keywords and so on and so forth, but if it's not profitable in 6 months, or should I say even close to profitable, if you're getting good progress, then keep going with it until it's profitable or whatever. But if it's not, you switch over to the landing page optimization. And once you've done that and you've got as much out of that you can, then you go back to optimizing your PPC campaign. And the PPC campaign will probably work at that point in time, if not if it is already. That's normally how I'm gonna start off with rebuilding a client's campaigns when they come on here and they need if they want more sales from their campaign and I'm on contract to do it. And then 6 months or so, if I can't get the results with the PPC alone, I'm adding in the best landing page I can, testing it, optimizing it, so on and so forth. And then I'm going back to optimize our PPC campaigns afterwards. So, though, in general, then, you need to get it to the point, force yourself to get it to the point where it's, a lot of times people need $8 of revenue to every dollar in ad spend. Get it to that level. And do not stop optimizing your $1,000 investment into ads until you get it to that level. And just by doing that, you'll know whatever's on that landing page will work to rehash your whole site, because what works for one will work for the other, generally speaking. Now, I know landing pages are meant to be more aggressive and all that, but just the inherent flow and the design and the color scheme, that stuff all has to be on point for it to work. And so you can start out way, way, way ahead in terms of what you go to the designer that can redesign your whole site to make your conversion rate on your whole site better from all traffic sources if you got that data from your PPC campaign already. As a final note about all this kind of thing as well, so it might be $100,000 to redesign your site, and it's worth every penny, of course, if you're over 10K of visits a month and have $1 million in sales a year, because you can quickly find out if you change something, does it work, and then undo it, which is why you want a decent amount of traffic as well. But you could get up to that $1 million a year, easily just by doing what I mentioned about the PPC campaign, get it to work, and then up the budget a little bit. And PPC, I've never seen a product or service where PPC don't work if there's actual genuine demand for it. So you put yourself into a position to see what kind of a landing page you need to put together that will sell your product or service. And once you've done that, so not only are you going to make money from the PPC campaigns, half the money I usually make from the PPC campaigns after I scale up the ad budget a lot, the SEO makes a lot more money, because Google sees the authority of our site. We're doing more ads than most of everybody else, therefore we rank better. That's just kind of how the system works. It is what it is. So we're making a lot more from that. And then we parlay our information about what worked on the PPC side to redo the website and do CRO from there, right? So that, because we're probably over $1 million a year in sales at that point, and we'll take it even further. As a side note, you can also make more money from the SEO, because you're ultimately going to see search terms that people typed in that worked, long tail search terms, and we can use those to make our SEO better by putting them on our site. And so there's that as well. The other things that I wanted to go over here, I think I pretty well spelled it out in terms of when you actually should do this conversion rate optimization, when not. If you get to, last thing I guess I'll say, if you get into running, so you're starting out, if you aren't doing PPC yet, you're going to focus on making a $1,000 ad budget work for yourself. You're going to run it for 6 months. If it's not working, you're going to check the bounce rates. The other thing that I would also check is the search terms report, since I was now thinking about it. If you're looking for people that want a plumbing services, you go under what is called the search terms report in your Google Ads account. And if you don't see terms that are 80% or more, plumbing services, plumber near me, stuff where people inherently are looking for a plumber, well, then you need to add more negative keywords until 80% or more are the right terms. So you always got to do that first, and of course you can also know that you're on the right track and it's your traffic is dialed in enough to be able to just have a chance to work. If you're between 40 and 60% bounce rates, and that's the time, if I'm still not making the money, I'm going to optimize the landing page. If you're running a display campaign, I want to see bounce rates between 60 and 80%. If it's over 80%, I'm working on streamlining the traffic first. And it's a little bit harder to know how to optimize a display campaign to optimize the traffic. A lot of times it's just a matter of letting for instance, the Facebook ad algorithm needs data about what worked and what didn't work to get you in front of the right people, and you have to spend more money. Therefore, I also would just recommend you start out with search ads because it makes money a lot quicker, since there's a lot less of that. As long as you target the right keywords, within a couple months' time, you should already have things dialed into the point where most of your traffic is qualified. You know it's qualified because you can look at the search terms report, and then you're basically off to the races a lot quicker. Not to say display advertising can't and won't work. A lot of different businesses that I work with, about half of our revenue is coming from display advertising through Google Display Network and on Facebook, but I normally don't start out with that. We're the low-hanging fruit because we always want to get a client a return as fast as we can right away, because that return can be parlayed into other things. And a search campaign is basically the quickest thing that I can think of to do. And then, like I said, we can take some of the money that we're making and focus on making a landing page. And when that works, of course, we advise the client to use the information for their SEO and then to make the rest of their site better. So you can see how this builds on itself. And you can start out you could have a company that basically does no revenue. As long as you've got $1,000 of money that you are going to commit just to learn what your customers want, and basically do whatever you can to make that $1,000 a month work that you're going to set up with your Google search ads, everything else can really fall into place, and you really can become the 500-pound gorilla in your space, one step at a time, going through that kind of process that I would normally go through with the client who's not a huge company, and doesn't want to be down negative millions of dollars before their campaigns work. They got to start out with real, actual personal funds that they're putting into the system. If the product works and it looks like, or service works and it looks like it has a lot of potential, we still start out with a few thousand a month no matter what. We make that work and then we quickly scale. We never start out at the big budgets, because we need data to know it works. And if you start out heavy with the ads, then you're wasting a lot of money before you really know what you should be doing, if you will. So that the big guys that you see in your space, they pretty much all started out the same way. A lot of people don't think they can compete with the big player in their space because they spend all this money. They all started small. Most people in life that are successful started somewhere, and this is no different. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I have a ton of other videos like this on this channel about other PPC money-making strategies. I talked about a little bit of how CRO is involved with PPC on this video, but mostly about PPC. I also we guarantee results for our clients, PPC results, in which I talk about the strategies and teach people how to use the strategies on my blog at Guarantee PPC. GuaranteePPC.com/blog if you would like to see some material kind of in that kind of format for yourself as well. But apart from that, if you have any questions about this strategy or anything related, leave a comment down below. I get back to every person who leaves me a comment on this channel. But hope you enjoyed. Hopefully this made a lot of sense for you and give you some insight as to